Sellergren is one of our own, and he was in Job Club at least one other time, maybe two other times, and then would go out and get a great job. And now he's back with us. And I had no idea, all the years that I've known who Gary was, I had no idea of this whole parallel occupation and existence that he's had. So this is an eye-opener to Gary Sellergren. He is a business operations consultant, and here's the other side, a Reiki master and energy healer, a Reiki master energy healer. Okay. And he's going to be talking to us about how to achieve a Zen balance in your life and your networking contact relationships. Subtitle, know who you are, your needs, and your boundaries. You will be guided to understand and practice healthy communication to yourself and your networking contacts for for expressing your needs while balancing your own as well as your networking contacts energies. So we've never gone down this path before, and it's good to have one of our own as a guide. Gary loves helping businesses solve their operational problems, has managed up to 100 people. While he considers himself industry agnostic, he has extensive experience in healthcare management as a practice administrator. Additionally, Gary has been helping men and women heal one-on-one for the past 3 years as an intuitive Reiki master. As a job seeker himself, he is currently accepting new opportunities in both areas. His ideal position would be to assist in managing the operations of a holistic, comprehensive center for healing. He strives to provide the healthiest balance for all his business clients across their people, customers, operations, and finances, ultimately achieving the healthiest sustainable net income. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen next. Let's give a warm welcome to our very own Gary Sellergren.
Oh, thank you very much. And this, Kathy, this is a little bit different, but it's also, I'm working on the foundation, kind of like what Mesha talked about a couple of weeks ago. She was very inspirational, gave a lot of mantras, a lot of positive thinking type of, pathways. And we also had a person in person, a speaker last time we had in-person meeting, Xavier Cross, that talked about hiring your subconscious. So a lot of what I will talk about today is the mindset and how you can use your mind to help you not only find that great job, get closer, have more authentic relationships, but also heal yourself too. And what I want to talk about today a little bit is I want to understand people's intentions a little bit when they heard about this topic or they heard the introduction. I like to hear it from a couple people, what they thought they might learn from today or hope to learn from today.
Feel free to unmute and tell Gary or put it in the chat, whichever you'd prefer.
Hi, Gary. This is Mary Jane.
Hi.
I can't say I know I knew you were going to speak today, but I did go in for a really nice massage at this great place one time. And the gal who was giving me the massage actually did some Reiki on me. And actually, it felt really good. So it was a good experience. I recall that. So just wanted to say that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Here's one, how to work on our mindset when feeling down during the job search. How to be calmer and more confident in my job search. I had a job seeker who, I've had several job seekers who've lived in my house over the years. And one of them had a number of she was she's an in Mensa. She was a very, very bright, and she was a high-level financial project manager, but she also was a Reiki healer. And I saw her, and we were in the grocery store together, and she looked at the cashier. Nobody was behind us, and she looked at the cashier and she said, "You have a headache, don't you?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "If you'd like, it'll only take a few seconds, but I can fix that." And she healed her in the in the grocery line. She did her little hand thing, and she healed her, and the girl was just blown away. So anyway, stress, helping people deal with stress, not being quite so anxious, uh, that might be very helpful.
Yeah,
And the fact that we can do it to ourselves, we
yes,
don't have to go to somebody, but that we have
that
the power
is,
to do it within ourselves.
yes, we can heal ourselves, and all of us have the ability to be intuitive, empathic, pick up energies and that sort of thing, and I will talk about that. And so I'll move into my presentation now. And I don't encourage people to heckle, but I'm happy. I love if people, if it's just not making sense or they want to challenge me, I'm very open to that. I've been down this pathway for a long time, and I was very conservative and didn't want to believe a lot of the things I'm going to talk to you about today. So, because I have lived the experience and some of the transition, I'm a firm believer that everyone can create a customized version of this for themselves that is sustainable. And then you can build up your resilience so that when you do have those events that happen, we can't keep bad events from happening. I mean, there's just going to be changes in our lives that are just going to continue to happen. And our ability to bounce back is what is key in all of this. So I'm going to share let's see, let me move one of my screens down. And if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking down at the audience, but I am going to share my presentation here. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So again, my background is in overseeing physician-owned practices up to 100 people. I've been an operations manager, so I've handled all the support services across the board. I've worked with a lot of physicians. I understand. I've seen a lot of people, interact with physicians. I see how they heal people and so on. So I have some background in seeing and experiencing a lot of that. And then I have a background in playing a lot of sports, injured just about every part of my body, and either have healed it myself or through surgeries and so forth. So very attuned to body type of issues. And I have been through as much frustration as any of you. I'm not going to brag about that I've achieved more goals than everybody through this, but at the end of the day, I've been able to reconcile who I am, how I fit into the world, and what my purpose is. And I have great gratitude for what I have. And that is what has made me have a more sense of peace, a Zen existence, and very happy. So, why did the Zen master refuse to play hide and seek? Well, because he knew that true peace is always hiding in plain sight. And why that is important, I believe, and again, what I ask you to do in this, just follow and take in what resonates with you. That's what the key thing is. If something doesn't make sense, or it bumps up against your belief system and you don't want to consider it, that's fine. Just set it aside. But what resonates, be curious about it, investigate it. There's probably something there that's probably helpful. And that's what the key is to understand. Once you really know who you are, your purpose in life, then you will know what is healthy for you. You'll be able to make very quick decisions when you have opportunities, when you meet people, so on and so forth. I believe that we were born very much in line with whatever higher power that you believe created the order to the world. I believe we were born very much perfectly in line with that. And then through societal conditioning, they have put layers on us so that it's very hard to connect to that again. But I believe that you can kind of wake up and you can peel off those layers. And that's what I believe that I have been able to do. So what I want to take you through is just a short, let's maybe do about a minute meditation. I know a lot of people, it's been very difficult that the thoughts in their heads keep are jumbled, and there's a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities, and that sort of thing. But try to put your feet firmly on the ground. Close your eyes if you can. Get calm, work on your breathing. Try to let everything go. Try to let everything release that is no longer helpful, healthy to you. Just let it go. Things that no longer serve you, let them go. Visualize this beautiful white light coming through you, flowing through you. A light that is smart, it is working for your highest and best use, that it will take care of you and heal you and purify you. Just visualize that coming through you. Just be calm and just sit with it for just a second and have your intentions of what you want to get out of today, what you want to get out of your job search. Just have those intentions and let that just settle with you. Just be calm with it. Let yourself slowly come back to this meeting, to this room, to this presentation as we continue to flow through this together. And I hope everybody is back and present. And so the whole thing about, my journey too is that I felt that being present is the most important aspect. It's where I have all the control. And this has been a very hard concept for me to come to grips with because I've worried about how I've been treated in the past. I haven't been treated fairly, or I'm worried about how I'm going to be treated in the future or responsibilities. And if you think about having one foot firmly in the past, one foot firmly in the future, and you're standing over your present, where are you going to go to the bathroom? So I try to take care of my present. I try to understand that being present is where I have all the energy, all the ability to make things really happen and make healthy changes in my life. And that's been really a hard concept for me to get my head around and to believe, but I've come to understand that that is really the truth. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed by all the letters here and all the information. I'm going to go through a lot of information fairly quickly. So just let some things sink in that might resonate with you. What I want to let you know is a lot of, one person came to me, I don't know if I can come to your talk because I don't know how to meditate. And that's just one part of it. And you can do so many other things and follow so many other tools to kind of find out who you are and to help you kind of flow more with what's happening in your world. And I just grouped these into groups of 5 tools in each group. And I've just given 30 tools here in these 2 pages, but it's not exhaustive. And again, just do those things that make sense for you or you think might help you. Meditation helps people. Support for professionals. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one, help guide you through a process that it's customized, that makes sense for you. Because the things that have worked for me, and I will share some of those things that have worked for me, they may not work for you at all. There's people that have come to me and said, oh, when Mercury is in retrograde and so, and that doesn't resonate with me, but it definitely works and resonates with other people. And they sometimes with where the planets are aligned, they kind of make decisions based on that. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to rule out anything, but there are some things that don't make sense for me individually, and you can do the same thing. Just don't deal with those things. Exercise, dance, yoga. I like to move around, so I've done some of these things. One thing that's really made a difference in my life is gratitude journaling. I used to just be so upset about my job search and what was happening, and I kept forgetting about all the other great things about my life and what I'm able to do. Boundary setting. I'll go into it a little bit more and I'll talk about energy. I can feel energy, and that's what Reiki is. It's just moving energy. That's all it is. And there's energy that flows through all of us. We're electrical beings. There's things, our neurons are working and they're connecting to each other. And there's energy flowing through us. And all I do with Reiki is I'm just sensitive to those energies. So if I feel like the energies aren't flowing at a rate that is healthy, I just kind of move those energies along and help people. And I help myself in the same way. With boundaries, there are people and situations that you will bump up against that don't feel healthy. The energy doesn't feel healthy. You're starting to feel drained. And that's when you need to set boundaries. And either you verbally tell your significant others that you have these boundaries and hopefully they follow them, or you walk away for a time being. And so you need to understand what is healthy for you and how to set those type of boundaries. And I'll just go through these really quickly right now, but there's awareness tools. I'll talk a little bit about that to understand how to make decisions and what's really in the background making those decisions for you. Breathing exercises, compassion, time management, the type of food you take. We're a chemical being. We have chemical reactions happening in our bodies all the time. Food are chemicals. So just be aware of how that's affecting you. Your sleep is very important. I do a regular SWOT analysis on myself and talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I'm very honest. And I have moved a lot of my weaknesses to strengths, actually, because I've been honest with myself. I've worked diligently on some of these things. I've also added other columns to my chart that talk about barriers and success factors. And strategic planning that I've done professionally, I understand when there are barriers, those barriers need to be attacked before I really get going on my goals. I have to break down some of the big barrier walls that could be blocking my ability to achieve my goals. Sometimes chanting or singing have worked for people. Forgiveness is very important. Forgiving yourself is probably the most important. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. Intentions, like we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. Now I'll go to the second part. Second part of tools. Again, these groupings are in no particular order or in a particular grouping. Journaling. A lot of us journal, and I had to journal, and I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it to track my progress. And it was a pain in the butt, but I started to do it, and it's like, oh yeah, I realized, oh yeah, I'm procrastinating, or I actually did something a lot better than I thought, and I gave myself a pat on the back. Your social connections are very important. Visualizing is very important. And there's a lot of work being done in visualization. There's a gentleman called Joe Dispenza that I've done meditations based on, and he is a guru in the science of mind over matter. I've been able to achieve success in some of those things as well. So visualization is very important. And the science of the mind says it can't distinguish between what actually happened in your visualization. So if you can visualize it, it's actually happening sometimes in your mind. Your mind can be it can understand that. So it's very powerful. Take number 19, taking a break from technology at times. So understand how technology is affecting you. Is it healthy that you're in front of a computer screen all the time or always on your phone? Sometimes decluttering and simplifying your life. There are things that you don't really need that are just getting in the way. There's assessments, number 21. I have done things through a church. There's some free assessments online. You can find out what your gifts are. And one gift that I have is discernment. I can discern things, based on energies and things like that. I can discern if somebody's telling me the truth or not, or if somebody's trying to make a decision, I can discern, I can help them make that decision because they already really know the answer. And when they're explaining to me, I can pick that up. Again, there's the mindful eating, acceptance and letting go. I've had an OCD thing where I kept playing the same bad event over and over. I've been able to let that go on my own without seeing an expensive therapist. Communication, communicating with clarity, empathy, nature therapy, being out, connecting to nature often is very, very healthy. Understanding frequencies, which I've been able to do, walking, hiking, pets. We love our pets, our dogs, our cats, whatever it might be. And then support groups, workshops. I would consider Launchpad, it's a workshop, it's a support group. So those things help. I'm going to check chat. There's one. Okay, yeah. So somebody put a link to Joe Dispenza. So that's great. So again, excuse me for a second. I talked about barriers. And so awareness is always the key to change. Being aware of something, acknowledging something has always been my experience is the one way that I've been able to change my behavior, my thought process. And so if you identify these barriers or understanding that they're in play, that's the first step. There's been sometimes I've identified a barrier, and I will talk very candidly about my personal life as we go on. I'll show you a diagram of my journey. And I can tell you that I've had a lot of mom issues. A lot of people have parent issues. And a lot of my barriers to my balance have been dealing with some mom issues. And basically it was not being good enough. No matter what I could do, it just wasn't good enough. So I've had to deal with that and let a lot of things go. And I was stuck on some things. And I did see a coach for a short time who worked with something called theta healing. And I was able to move some of that energy, some of those emotional barriers that I had. And I've been able to move on. I've been able to forgive myself, forgive my mother, and things like that. So, and it's something that I was stuck with me for many years. I've been on this earth. In another month, I will have been on this earth for 21,900 days. And if anybody's wondering how many years that is, I will be 60 years old. So I believe that, and a lot of people think I look younger than I am. And I do. I do things that are a lot younger than what my age would suggest because I don't listen to anybody who gives me a limit about my age or what I can do or what I should be doing. I believe that I can do a lot of things that I could do when I was 25. So, and I have been getting better in a lot of areas, and I've changed my physiology because I knew I could. So barriers, sometimes we have a lack of prioritization. We have a poor boundaries. Sometimes we don't have the self-awareness that we want. Fear is a huge thing, and I will talk about fear and how to identify it. Perfectionism, lack of support, technology overload, unrealistic expectations, to not taking care of ourselves, failure to adapt. A lot of these things, you should take time to sit down and analyze and look at how is it affecting you because the barriers that'll make the biggest difference if you are able to deal with those barriers, make the biggest difference towards being able to achieve your goals. So you may face a combination of these barriers, and the strategies will be based on your personal circumstances and preferences. You can develop this holistic approach, and how I define holistic, and I have some more slides that'll show that, is the mind, body, and soul. That's looking at everything of your well-being. And that's coupled with your ongoing self-reflection, and you can reach that more balanced and fulfilling life. Now, benefits, there's a lot of benefits. Okay, there's the physical benefit, number one. There's the mental benefit, number two. You can be more productive. You can have better relationships. Emotional resilience. I had a recruiter I was talking to, and I went through, an hour-long talking to her and answering all the typical recruiter questions. And then I was doing research, and I asked her during the interview, where is this particular healthcare company? I don't see any sites in Texas. And she got back to me in a couple of days after I kept asking about the job, and she says, "Oh, you probably aren't close enough. It's the position is in Dallas." And I'm like, "Okay, you know, why didn't you tell me that ahead of time, or why haven't you done your research?" So I bounced back from that. I was kind of upset about it, but I just let that feeling of frustration just sit with me for a very short time, and I bounced right back to doing what I need to do. You can be more creative. You can then be more focused, make better decisions. I love the fact that I can make very fast decisions. Sometimes people ask me something and I'll make the decision and they say, "Are you sure?" They'll think almost I've been flippant in the short time I've made the decision, but I am always very confident in my decisions, and never flippant. I think a lot of different things very quickly. But if you are very much in line with who you are, then you can make those quick decisions because you know if they're healthy or not. You know if you need to do them. You can be better time managers. You can increase quality of your life, resilience to stress, and just long-term well-being. So we talk about mindset, right? So I say, does this chart make me look fat? I saw a physician one time. I walked in, it was a new visit. He says, "You got to lose weight." And he was basing this on a BMI. My BMI, I don't know if you've seen me in person, suggests that I'm in obesity class 1. But the doctor didn't take any time to look at my muscle tone or anything. So do I believe I'm obese? Absolutely not. I play a lot of sports. I'm athletic. I'm coordinated. But it's what you think that makes the most sense. I don't listen to any. I I listen to some people that I really respect if they have a criticism or say something, and I'll reflect on it. But I know who I am very much. You can tell me who you think I am, but it's not going to make a big difference in my world. I like flattery like everybody else, but I know who I am at the end of the day, whether you say something good or bad, because I've done the soul searching, I've done the work to know who I am, and I think everybody has that ability. And you don't have to listen to what somebody tells you who you are, even an expert. Now, I'll say a disclaimer, always listen to your physician, always follow up on your health care and that sort of thing. But there are times when I have not listened to my physician and I have been right. So, because I know my body better than any other person in this world, and I'll listen to experts for guidelines, but it's not the absolute truth to me, especially when it puts limits on me and my ability to do something or think about something or my creativity. So I hope everybody can, believe that at some point. Deepak Chopra. I love this quote. "What other people think of you is none of your business. If you start to make it your business, you'll be offended for the rest of your life." It's really none of your business what other people think of you. It's what you think of yourself at the end of the day, how you, the person that you want to be or you think you are, that's what makes a difference. I believe I am perfect. I am imperfectly perfect. That is a way of looking at it, that I try my best and I do my best every day to the best of my ability. Can I, build a rocket ship and fly to the moon? No, I'm not capable of that right now. But can I hit a baseball very far? Yes, I'm capable of that. I play baseball. So I know what my limits are. I know what my strengths are. I know what I can and cannot do at the current moment, but that doesn't mean I can't do it at some moment in the future. So there's nobody on this earth that can tell me that I will listen to and do exactly what they say and believe them until it resonates properly with me. So my belief system is that it's very easy for me to understand which part of my brain is making the decision for me. And if it is fear, guilt, or shame that I'm feeling in the situation, then it's my ego that has taken over. I am not being in flow, basically, with spirit or source or whatever you feel is the higher energy that you draw from in your belief system. It could be Muhammad, it could be Buddha, it could be whatever it is, God, Jesus. Everybody can do this, but if you understand that fear, guilt, and shame, I believe, is a societal conditioning that is done, and it's your ego, and your ego is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you become fully aware of when your ego is at play, it's very powerful. You are much more in control how you think and what you do than you really ever believed. And I say, if you're feeling fear, guilt, or shame, understand it, analyze it, break it down. Why? Was it a parent that told me? Was it somebody, a school teacher that told me at one time? Was it a bad experience that I had? What was it? And when I have done this, I have been able to get over phobias of spiders. I had a fear of public speaking. I've had a fear of heights. And so this has been very, very, very powerful when you understand this. And I only until recently have I really understood the power of it. When you're in Zen mode, you're peaceful and balanced, you should be giving yourself forgiveness, grace, and love. Recently, this year I've been working on resilience. So that means mental resilience, right? Spiritual resilience, physical resilience. And so I was riding my bike around about 5, 6 weeks ago, and I went forward off my bike onto the cement on the sidewalk, and and the bike flipped back on me a couple times, hit me in the head a couple times. The wheel did, the pedal did. I had a hat on, so it didn't cause too much blood, but there was pretty good lumps in the back of my head. And did I admonish myself for not paying attention and keeping both hands on the wheel uh on the bike and trying to drink water at the same time? No. I just, I kind of assessed whether I was really hurt, whether I had to get stitches, whether I had to go to the hospital. Had plenty of blood, and I could get back up and ride again. I gave myself some Reiki to heal myself quickly, and I got right back up. Like, I mean, we all got back up when we were 8 or 9 years old and we fell off our bike, right? I got right back up. I went to a movie that night. I played, 6 games of pickleball the next day. My legs were all bruised up and big bumps and everything, but I believe because I have been able to get balance, I was resilient. I got just right back up like I was a kid again, at 60 years old. So I believe everybody can build up that resilience, but it's a mindset. Should I be out riding around at 60 years old, one-handed or no-handed? Well, why not? I mean, if I believe that I'm okay with it, then I'll do it. I mean, if you were in my neighborhood, you'll see me riding around no-handed, even after I took a header off my bike. Um, and I didn't admonish myself. I forgave myself. And God was just basically telling me, because that's my belief system. I'm not trying to impose that on anybody else, but God was telling me, hey, be a little more careful. I'm not going to send you to the hospital, but just kind of be more aware of what's happening around you. I said, okay. So what are the components of a balanced life? Now, when we go to coaches, we see a lot of like this type of thing. You want to balance your spiritual, your financial, your family, mental, work, social, physical, right? Now, the pieces of the pie aren't always the same for everybody. One person might really be concentrating on financial. That piece of the pie is going to be much bigger, or one part is very much their family. So understand that, but this is still too complicated for me to kind of manage your life. There's more of a foundation that I've come to understand, and that's this mind, body, and spirit. And I call the spirit, I interchange it between spirit and soul. So what I like to show it is, and this is no particular order, your mind could be balancing at the bottom, but it's a balancing act between the three. And when I've been able for myself to simplify it to these three areas, it's really made sense for me. And it's really allowed me to grow and to heal in a lot of ways. So understanding energies. So my belief is that everything is energy. And I'll give you a list of my reference material at the end. But Sue Morter wrote a book called Energy Codes. And it was hard for me to understand at first because I didn't want to understand and believe that, like the solid table that this computer is on, that was energy. That had a frequency just like anything else, like any moving animal or object. But everything has a different frequency. Everything has energy in it. If we were to look at a table with electron microscope, we would see that there's separation between the molecules that make up that solid object, and they're moving. So understand that everybody has feminine energy that flows through them. Everybody has masculine energy that flows through them. And that you can balance that within yourself, and you can also balance that between your contacts and understanding how you deal with your contacts that you talk to. They could be significant others, they could be your networking contacts. So the feminine energy, as we talk about, is more the compassionate, the creative, empathic, the gentle, intuitive, nurturing side. And then when we talk about masculine energy, that's the action oriented, the discipline, the focus, the goal oriented, the logic. So again, understanding that we have different amounts of this in us at any given time and with the people that we interact with. It's to me, it's powerful to understand that because you can pick up on that and you can connect to people better that way. So Sue Morter in her book, The Energy Codes, said that even the most seemingly solid objects are composed of vibrating energy at their core. By tapping into this underlying energetic essence, we can unlock the potential for transformation and healing in every aspect of our lives. That may not make sense to you when you first read it, but it didn't to me. But I let it settle in and I kept thinking about it and thinking about, well, what's the opportunity here? If I understand it, what can I maybe do with that? And I can do a lot with it actually. And I have been, because I can move energy, because even in those areas where it seems stuck in a lot of areas. And another concept that she talks about, the universe is based on an order that we can trust, and we can align ourselves with that order, and it will support our well-being in every way. And lastly, one of the key concepts too in that book is when you release the unconscious energetic patterns and emotions that keep you stuck in the past. And like I talked about my mom issues, right? In releasing those, you can experience profound transformation in alignment with your highest potential. So again, back to a little bit of levity. Why did the sensitive person bring a ladder to the therapist's office? Well, because they wanted to climb over their emotional barriers and reach new heights of self-awareness. So how do you create this awareness? And how do you be honest to yourself? Because a lot of us, we don't want to admit that we have kind of a weakness or an area that maybe is a blind spot. So there's a book that was developed by David Hawkins, and in it he has this map of consciousness. Now, the next slide I have explains every single column for people who are very, like to really get in and dive in head first. But like I said before, treat, when you tackle these concepts or think about these things, just find out what resonates with you. What resonated with me when I first saw this was not only the colors, because it seemed to make a lot of sense, but the first two columns is what really made sense to me. That this is what I have used to help track my progress towards more of a peace and balance state. And also it has helped me to keep myself honest. So what I can tell you is that for 20 years in my life, after my divorce, actually 2 divorces, if I might be honest, that I I was right in the red and the orange for that entire 20 years. I maybe spiked up a little bit to the yellow to like neutrality for a short time, but I would go right back to anger and all those other qualities in those levels. And so David Hawkins, he somehow he measured the energetic log at these different emotional states. I don't know how scientifically accurate that might be, but I know intuitively it makes sense to me that shame would be a vibration of like 20 and courage at 200 would be 10 times more powerful. And that reason would be 20 times more powerful than shame. So I don't believe, this is my belief, and I've had people argue at times and challenge me. I don't believe anything ever happened that was healthy at that orange or red for me, in that orange or red area. The things that I was able to make transitional things in my mind and in my body started happening in the green area, and as I moved up to the blue and to the purple. I believe right now I am at a peace area. I do not believe that I've reached to the enlightenment area, but I do believe that I pretty consistently is in the peace area, because I know that even when things have happened, and change always happens in the world, I've come to understand that, and bad events are going to happen, but I've been able to be resilient and get back to my kind of peace-like state. So I will talk a little bit more about so if you're really interested, here is kind of the different descriptions of the different columns. But in a lot of these things, it's just like a recipe. When I cook, I like to cook it's therapeutic, but in every recipe, I will tweak things. I will do things in different orders. I will add ingredients. And that's what I do with any of these tools. I will use it to my own best use, and I will not just follow it to a T just because some expert said this is the way they did it. So you don't have to follow me to a T, implement it the way that it works for you, what resonates. So I'm not going to talk about each of those individual columns. If you're interested, you can certainly research it a little bit more. So how did I do this? In 20 years, I talked about I was all over the place, just adrift. In the last 6 years, I've become more focused, and now I'm, in the process of maintaining it. Here is a diagram that kind of shows my path, my journey. And so I will tell you, back in, here I am in Chicago, living there. I'm, kind of taking pretty good care of my body. My mind is, at a 3 in the beginning, actually goes down to a 1. And after divorce number 2, it's at a 2. And I'm doing this on a 10-point, scale, saying 10 is the balance. And then I'm still taking decent care of my body, kind of in my mind, an average. And I didn't even know I had to take care of my soul. I was brought up a Presbyterian, and religion wasn't a thing in my life. And we just did it for kind of, um, just on the surface, just as, trying to create, saying that, oh, we went to church just like everybody else. But there was no follow up about church or any spirituality discussions in my house. So I didn't really know I had a soul that it had to be taken care of. So then finally, my daughter, I'm not happy. I thought I was happy when I first came to Austin 2014. I wrote a book on happiness for men, and I was going to publish it. And I was like, let me let it settle for a month or two. And I still wasn't happy. There was something missing. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't realize I had these lowest scores. It was only until later that I had to put this together and realize I was really at a low level. And I was talking to my daughter, and she's now going to be 31 this year. But she was, at the time, she said, Dad, I've been going on these spiritual retreats, these ayahuasca retreats. And I'm like, no, forget that. I don't do drugs. Forget that. I don't want to be out of control. There's no freaking way. And I think she asked me about 15 times. And so I wanted to have a stronger connection with her, because I've had trouble connecting with her in the past. And I said, okay, I'll finally do it. And her boyfriend was there. It was in Houston. And so I did it. What happened in that is that I realized that there's maybe something else in the world that I really wasn't aware of, or was in, kind of in my mind, denial, and I didn't want to see. And so it kind of loosened the jar. And so my mind opened up a little bit. My soul, I think I realized at that point I had a soul. And then I left Launchpad, like Kathy said. I got a job in Midland for a couple of years overseeing a large pediatric practice. And that was the Bible Belt there. And in that, I kind of understood, my mind came around a little bit more. The body was still taking care of it. The soul, still kind of understanding some things. Then I came and I got involved with a Unity Church here. I did some consulting for them. I kind of understand. They did meditations during their employee meetings, so I got to understand that. And they actually went through some healing exercises that the light bulb finally went off. I'm like, holy crud, that is actually working, because I was very much a skeptic. And then I realized, oh, yeah, my soul needs something. Then in 2021, there's a book called A Course in Miracles. Now, if you can see, I've got a cross and I've got a crystal here. And some people say, oh, those can't go together. And I say they do complement each other. And so the reason why I'm saying that is that you can read things and they're not necessarily blasphemous in my mind. It's just information. And, get the sense of what it's trying to teach, rather than, saying that that's not part of my scripture, or that's not a part of my belief system. But what I found out in this book called A Course in Miracles, it's like a 700-page book. It's really hard to, understand. It's written in a kind of a hard to understand way. But what it says to me is, understand what is your ego making decisions, and understand when is your spirit making decisions. It says the same thing to me over and over. People will be in like groups that study this for like 10 years. And to me, it made sense the first time I read this. I had a friend of mine, he's 20 years older than me. He's 80, and he runs circles around me. His name's Jack Frick. And he inspired me to like think differently about my limitations. So he's been a great mentor. I've done the shadow work. I read the books. My body was falling apart, and so I felt that my body could be make some changes or kind of revitalize. So I did a 5.5 day fast, which was not easy, but I believe that my physiology changed quite a bit after that. And then I can quiet my mind a little bit more, and then I can understand when I'm connected to spirit and when I can feel energies. So then when I made another big jump is when I decided to unconditionally love myself forever. Now, I can talk a little bit more about that, but I know I'm going to run out of time here soon. But that was one of the most powerful things that I've ever been able to do, but it was also the scariest. It was scarier than jumping out of that plane in San Marcos. So I didn't know what I was going to find on the other side of that door when I opened it up and said, I'm going to just accept who I am on that other side of the door. And a lot of people I know when I talk to them, they just don't have high opinions of themselves. But if you can get to a point where you can actually forgive yourself and just believe that you are perfectly imperfect, you can get to that point of unconditionally loving yourself. I believe now that my only my opinion works, that only my opinion matters. I became a healing master, continue to do the Course in Miracles, energy and frequency. There was a great and then the introduction to Reiki at a place called Holistic Healing. And then Unity Church, again, they started transitioning to kind of a different philosophical viewpoint than I had, and kind of more of a political viewpoint. And I was getting frustrated. I ran for the board. I lost, which was probably the best thing that could have happened. But then I had the resilience to come back and be back in balance. I'm an independent thinker, which means I don't go through any expert. I connect to kind of spirit, and that's what makes my decisions for me. And then finally, um, recently, I've used Joe Dispenza meditations to kind of um, understand and believe that you can do things mind over matter, and then use the map of consciousness to keep myself tracking and under again just and then I became baptized, and just um, you know that's evident at the cross here. But it doesn't I you don't have to go through the same pathway as mine. Everybody has ability to go through their own customized pathway. And so I believe that balance is a sense of peace, acceptance of who you are, how you fit in the world, and what is your purpose. So how do you get to talking nicely to yourself, or how do you get to, loving yourself unconditionally? Well, there's a book called Nonviolent Communication, NVC, and Marshall Rosenberg has written it. He's been, very famous man that's been used in mediations against warring countries and other violent situations. He's also been, marriage counselor and that sort of thing. But he breaks it down to 4 steps: observation, feelings, needs, and requests. And I don't have time to go through it all, but I want to talk about the feelings part, because humans, as we know, are driven a lot by emotions, right? So you got to understand your own feelings at a given time, and that's how you talk more nicely to yourself, okay? And if you can observe things, at the beginning and not really judge what you're seeing or judge yourself, you can be in a more calm state to understand and evaluate your feelings. So here, I'll just read the yellow part. We want to identify our emotions. We can connect more easily with one another. And then we're vulnerable by expressing our feelings, and we can help resolve conflicts. We want to understand what actual feelings are from words and statements to describe thoughts, assessments, and interpretations. So I'll give you a list of some words here that if you're going to play a victim, that means that you're going to say that somebody caused you to feel the way that you do. And then that person is going to feel defensive when you say that to them. And then communication is not going to go anywhere healthy. So if you can understand that when you want to say these things, that you take ownership for how you feel, you take control of how you feel, that no one's making you feel this way, you're feeling this way, you have control over that and how you respond to what's happening around you. So we want to avoid using these words to ourselves and when we're working with others. So it's, again, it's going to cause a defensive mechanism on the other side of the communication. So what you do want to say is, if your needs are getting met, you're going to want to say, hey, I'm comfortable, I'm elated, I'm glowing, I'm invigorated, I'm overjoyed, relieved, splendid, whatever it is. So here's a whole list of things to use. And then the next list is whole list of words then when you're not being met. I had to explain to somebody the other day that I was frustrated. And then, that these were things that I was dealing with. And I had to say, well, you have to understand that in the situation and how I'm interpreting things. So I tried to keep it open so they understood what my emotions were without being defensive. And then I could understand what their emotions were. And then we could talk about what our needs were and requests and all that good stuff. But again, this is a way that you communicate with other people, but it really starts with yourself. Before I want to heal people, I had to take that oxygen mask, just like we had that example in the airplane. I take that oxygen mask. I make sure that I am balanced and I'm in a good state before I try to help other people and heal other people. So really take care of yourself first. So why do we have difficulty? Well, there's professionalism that we have to abide by, and sometimes there's boundaries where fear of being rejected or judgment. There's cultural and social norms. There's power dynamics. There's lack of emotional intelligence on either our side or on the other side. So sometimes there's difficulty in expressing our feelings, and so just be aware of these things. Awareness is a big part of the communication process. And again, why is it important to express our feelings? Well, it builds trust in relationships with our networking contacts and ourselves. It enhances communication understanding. It improves problem solving and solutions. So again, the text at the bottom here, we can build stronger, more authentic relationships. We can embrace our emotional openness and authenticity. And we just create a more supportive and collaborative environment. So how do we become more comfortable to express our feelings? Well, lots of times it's a tightrope. I can tell you, I put up here vasectomies because I actually had a conversation not too long ago with, I still do some I'm looking for full-time work now, and I have had consulting clients in the recent past. And one client said, well, I think all men should have vasectomies, just at the end of one of our conversations. And I'm like, okay, I can either, react to that, or I can follow a different pathway, right? So I oversaw a urology outpatient center at one time. I actually saw a vasectomy procedure, and I said, "Oh yeah, I saw that procedure." And it was just the doctor was talking to the person just like a normal conversation, snip, snip, put some ice on, and walk out the door. And so that just kind of ended the conversation. But you know, I didn't want to engage, and it really wasn't important to express my feelings on the subject or to go down that road. And it was never brought up again, and we haven't had those kind of conversations in the future, in the past, since then. So, um, how do we become more comfortable? We want to cultivate emotional intelligence. We want to create a safe and supportive environment. We want to practice vulnerability and authenticity. So how do we avoid descriptions and just express feelings? We want to focus on observations in a non-judgmental way. We want to express feelings directly and honestly, and we just want to stay curious and empathetic. Just like I said today with everything I've talked about. If it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't make sense, you think I'm full of, hogwash, don't pay attention to it. But there might be a golden nugget here or there that makes sense to you, that can help you that can give you inspiration, that can send you down a curious pathway to self-discovery, to being able to heal yourself better, to heal other people. Because every time I wake up in the morning, I I hear my voice in my head say, you got to heal the world. And so I'm sharing this with people because I believe that healing one person at a time then can heal the rest of humanity. And just if we can share more love and more compassion and understand each other better, it's just going to create a better world. So the important points here, I'm even trying to talk to somebody about maybe doing a TED talk on this. And the important points that I mean, I'd love to hear from other people, but the important points of what I think the shareable worth is that you can really unlearn things. My belief is that we have learned and been conditioned for 99.9% of how we act and how we think. So you can unlearn societal conditioning as one. I believe you can do the self-discovery and really find out who you are. I believe you can find a Zen-like state, a peace and balance at the end of the day. You can reconcile to that, no matter how high your goals are and everything else, or what other people expect out of you. And then lastly, I believe that we can heal ourselves and then we can kind of be in the flow with the higher force that is out there, and that it can work to our best and highest use. So here is a list of the influential resources that have been a part of my life. Here's the Course in Miracles book that I talked about. Here's the Bible, which is very important to many people in the world. Joe Dispenza, The Energy Codes, a couple Stephen Covey books in there. First Things First, number 5. And then the other one down there, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, number 13. 5 Principles is from the Unity Church. Stress to Strength. He's a cardiovascular surgeon, number 7. He says, don't sweat the small stuff and everything is small. The Kabbalion, which was an interesting read. It just says, get used to it. Everything changes. The Map of Consciousness that I talked about, Mind Over Mood. After my first divorce, I didn't think I had any control over my mood. And you know what? You do. You have control over how you react to things. People don't make you do stuff. You do it. Nonviolent communication, and so on and so forth. Number 15, a quote that I love is that always shine, she has a long quote. I'm not going to read out the whole quote, but the essence of it is always shine your brightest light because you inspire other people. Don't dumb down your light just to make somebody else who, feel better about it. And you should always, express your most intelligent self, your most vibrant self. Number 16, very simple book that talks about Who Moved My Cheese. It's an adaptability lesson about mice. When the cheese are moved, they couldn't find the cheese anymore because they didn't adapt. And you are enough. Understanding that, I understood that I am enough and everybody is enough. Joel Osteen, very inspirational. Your hands can heal you. So again, I had some recent classes that I was teaching, and I had a 5-part course that I developed, and I'll teach it again if anybody's interested. And they're like 5 2-hour sessions. And one I really love is the unconditional loving yourself part. And then if you want to, reach out to me, there's my contact information, and feel free. Again, this is my number one passion is healing people. I love operational problem solving and sports and that sort of thing, but my number one is healing people. So I love to talk about this subject, and that's the side of me that Kathy didn't know about. Now you do.